Welcome to the Scoop World Order. It is Monday night. Camp season officially kicked off yesterday at Obet's down in Columbus. The Under Armour camp. Our own Bill Greene was there giving full coverage, watching a couple of superstars and a couple of guys that probably need to get a little bit better. Going to get the full download on that. We're going to talk a little bit about what camp season means, the difference between an Under Armour camp, the old 247 rivals camps versus an Ohio State camp or a Michigan camp. Get into that a little bit with the bank and just what some of his projections are from some of these kids he saw yesterday for kind of the unofficial kickoff of the big camp season, which happened yesterday, what he liked, what he didn't like, and we're going to get into that. So that being said, as always, thank you guys, as always, for tuning in with us. Get those questions fired up on the left. Shout out where you guys are watching from. As always, that is always a blast for us to read where you guys are at. You guys are basically all over the world, so it's really fun to see who's watching, where, when, how. It's just a blast for us, so we love that. If you enjoy this content, please leave us a like. Click the little like, thumbs up. That is huge for us. Click the subscribe button. Send this to your family, your friends. Any Ohio State or recruiting fan in the world would enjoy this content, so send it to them, text it to them. Keep spreading the good word because our channel is growing like crazy, and it's all thanks to you guys. If you guys enjoy these live shows, click the bell, get your quick little alert, and you guys will be able to see us live every single time we go. That being said, I'm going to bring in my man with one brand new eyeball and soon to have two brand new eyeballs, Bill the Bank Greene. Bank, how are you doing today? 2020 as always, I can see.
Yeah, doing good, man. Real good.
Good. Well, yesterday was the start of camp season at Obet's, the Under Armour camp. Ryan Day was there. Tony Alford was there. They take advantage of the rule that if your kid is there, you get to come watch it, which is kind of a genius move. So shout out to all the coaches with young kids. It might be a little too young for the camp, but you throw them in there so you can go scout a little bit. I think it's genius. For those that aren't familiar with what like an Under Armour camp or a rivals camp versus like a traditional like camp that's held by Ohio State coaches, what are the main differences? Some people say, some of the old school guys like, oh, only go to the ones where it's a college that can actually give you a scholarship versus these ones where you're getting evaluated. If you're a guy who has significant offers or you're committed, what do you get out of going to this? Obviously, if you're a kid who's uncommitted and you're fishing for offers, it makes a lot of sense to go to an Under Armour camp. But just what is the basic difference between like an Under Armour combine type camp versus like an Ohio State camp that's run by Ryan Day and his coaching staff?
Well, like you say, the only way that a college coach could have been there yesterday was if his son were there. And that was the case with Tony Alford and Ryan Day. And I know a lot of people say those camps mean nothing, but there is value to them. And, I'm sure Ryan Day was there to see his son, but the quarterbacks went last, and he didn't come walking in when the quarterbacks went. Ryan Day was one of the first guys there. He watched the linemen, he watched the wideouts go against the DBs. I'm sure he didn't do it for fun, so, there's value there. Tony Alford was first one there, pouring down rain, he made sure he saw the linemen. So there is value. If you get lucky that way and get seen by a college coach, it's amazing. If you don't, for someone that does have a ton of offers, I would think that the value of going to something like that is, look, everybody cares about their ranking. You still talk about yours. It was how many years ago? 20?
Yeah.
I mean, you still talk about that, so it means something to those kids. And there's the chance, that you will get invited to the Under Armour game, which is amazing. That, I've covered a million of those. They really treat those kids amazing. That is something, it's a great reward at the end of your high school career to go to that Under Armour game. So that's what's dangled there. There's a chance for you're talking about committed kids now. So that's what you're looking to improve your ranking and get invited to the game. For the kid that's got a ton of offers, would I advise my son to go? Probably not, because I wouldn't really care. If I had my school and I knew where I was going, I hate to say that because I love those camps and I benefit from those camps. So I hate to say that. For the uncommitted kid that can get invited there, you got to go. You got to go. Little Jimmy that nobody knew about, who dominated the O-line yesterday, they know about little Jimmy today. Every college coach in America wants to know, how did this unknown kid win offensive line MVP over Ohio State and Michigan guys? So that kid did himself tremendous favor. Okay. there was a D lineman there, and I wish I could remember his name. He shows up, and there was rain all morning. So you're on this field, and this field's kind of slick. There's a D
Yeah.
lineman there who had a knee brace on that looked like it was a car fender. I mean, that thing looked like it weighed 30 pounds. And I was standing there with Chris Singletary, who's awesome, works for 24/7 now. He was the Mark Pantone guy from Michigan under Rich Rodriguez. He worked for Rich Rodriguez out in Arizona. He worked for Kevin Sumlin at Arizona. He's now working for 24/7. And I told Chris, I said, what is this guy doing here? And he goes, are you kidding me? He goes, you come to something like this on a rain slick field with a giant knee brace on your knee, you're coming for war. You are coming to beat somebody's butt. And this kid battled his tail off. Now, not a high level prospect. I wish I could remember his name. I mean, it's almost unfair to this kid, but so I love going to these camps. I've always loved going to them for the past, since I started probably 20 years ago. So that's really the gist of it. And they are invitation only. So you don't get as many kids as what you get at an Ohio State camp where it's a total cattle drive. And, there's people everywhere. Here, the numbers are lower and they work out in groups. Linemen go first, running backs against linebackers go next, wide receivers, quarterbacks, DBs go third. So it's a little bit more easier to navigate as an analyst than the Ohio State camp where everything's going on at once and there's 792 kids there.
Yeah, I think, like, for me, the biggest benefit, I think you're spot on. If you're a committed kid, God bless you for showing up to that. But, back in 20 years ago, back in the olden days of recruiting, like, I never saw Louis Irizarry or David Patterson at a camp. Those guys were the high-level, 5-star type guys, had offers from Miami of Florida when Miami of Florida was Alabama back in the day. And I never saw those guys at a camp because they already had all their offers. So they kind of took camp season off, which is fine. I mean, but then there's the guys that are scrapping and the fringe guys. And I think a good benefit to something like that camp yesterday is that kids that are fighting for offers or better offers or to improve the situations, they get to kind of get a test run before they hit the real camp circuit when they got to go to Michigan or Michigan State or Purdue or Pitt or Georgia, Florida, like wherever they really want to go. It doesn't hurt to get some good competition versus Brian Robinson in one-on-one pass rush or going against the twins from St. Ed's and one-on-one pass rush if you're a DN. Like, I think that's helpful because back in, the beginning of time when I went to recruiting, I went to Michigan for 3 days. And then I went to Ohio State for 5 days. And then I went to advanced camp for 2 days. So I was at Ohio State for 7 straight days, which it sounds absurd, but Bill, I was a very raw prospect and I wasn't very good. I kind of stunk and I had to learn how to pass block. So it's like I was going to Michigan to learn how to pass block. I was going to Ohio State to learn how to pass block. And I just got better and better and better every day because you do one-on-one pass rush every day at those camps. So, I didn't know how to do that. So by the time I got to Ohio State advanced camp, I had to be as good as I was going to be, because there was no turning. It was like burn the boats. And, if you're going to get an offer, you're going to get it that day because you're going against the players that they invite. Back in the olden days of Ohio State advanced camp, it was invite only. There were 30 guys. I told you about it today, like Brady Quinn, Dante Whitner, Darius Hiley. It was only the best of the best, so there was no little Jimmies or any of that. It was 30 guys, all the coaches. Like, it was kind of like an official visit, basically, because we went to the stadium and ate great food, and then we worked out, and they worked us hard. So it was interesting. But you had a couple standouts. We're going to start with Bryce Underwood because he seems like the guy that really had a nice day, a guy that you think is a premier type prospect, a guy that, frankly, if we could get him in that 25 class, you'd be excited. But tell us a little bit about him, and I'm going to get his film cranked up here so some of you guys can see some of his game film.
Yeah, I mean, what I saw yesterday was everything that we're going to see in this film. I mean, he is so accurate. He has such a strong arm, such a quick delivery. He's got the body. He's got the athleticism. I mean, he's listed as the number one 2025 quarterback in America, and there's no way I'm arguing with that. I mean, his delivery yesterday, where he couldn't do this, he couldn't run yesterday. They were, just throwing, kind of looks C.J. Stroud when C.J. was a high school senior. That's how he threw it yesterday. Now, when you watch his film, if you look at his body type, just how he plays in a game, he looks like Caleb Williams to me. So, and if you're getting compared to those two dudes, you're a ball player. You know what I
Huh.
mean?
Huh. He yeah, 6'2", 200. He's from Belleville, Michigan. Uh
Top, real top school in Michigan. They've produced so many D1 kids over the years. I mean, they're big time, and he's big time. Look at these throws. I mean, and these are the throws I saw yesterday too on air. These are against a real defense, but I mean, there would be nothing you would have to change for that kid. Like his delivery is so tight and it's so perfect, and the ball comes out so nice. And again, like I say, if somebody wants to say he's the number one 2025 overall prospect in America, I'm not going to argue. I mean, everybody would take this kid. They watch this film right now, and this is sophomore film. He's still got
yeah.
2 more years of high school to go. You know what I mean? He's not graduating this year. So, yeah, I mean, you watch him run. I mean, I guess when I watch this film, I would say he's more Caleb Williams than CJ. But if you got those traits and that's who you're being compared to, you're pretty good.
Yeah, he seems exceptional. Again, you've seen a lot of quarterbacks. I mean, Caleb Williams is the guy that the
Oh,
LA Rams, someone's going to go 0-17 this year to try to get Caleb Williams, or they're going to go 1-16 because that's how good Caleb Williams is. The guy that could be two-time Heisman guy out at SC. But yeah, now with Belleville, I'm not familiar with them. I figured you might be, and this isn't trying to be a gotcha question, but do they have any sort of historical pipeline to Michigan or to any school? Or is there any significant there, or is it just these kids go everywhere?
they go everywhere, and they've had. Correct me if I'm. I'd have to look this up. They've had a coaching change. They might have had 2 coaching changes in the past 3 years. I know the guy that
Oh,
was there forever. Well, the guy you would have met back in the day when you were a GAA. Remember Jermaine Crowell, Coach Crowell, who
I loved him. Yeah, he was great.
who was the player? Dennis, the big guy.
Dennis Finley. I think I had Damon Webb, maybe,
Yeah,
or like I mean, it was all the kids from Cass Tech.
yeah, those were yeah. Crowell might have been an assistant at Cass Tech then he got the
Yeah,
head coach job at Belleville, I believe. But he's a big time guy, and he's no longer the coach. And I think they've had 2 since he left. So there's been a lot of transition there. But it's a great school. It produced great kids, and they go everywhere. So yeah, no, it's not a Glenville type situation at all. They go wherever they want to go. And this kid visited Ohio State. I mean, there's a relationship there. So it's going to be interesting to see because he's probably not going to be a kid that commits soon. And then what does Ohio State do if Ryan Montgomery, who I also really like, who was there yesterday, if Ryan decides to commit tonight, what does Ohio State do? Do they take Ryan Montgomery? And then if, the next Caleb Davis wants to take him too, and then let the 2 battle it out. And so I don't know. This is going to be the interesting, the plot to follow for 2025 is this kid's recruitment here. I mean, he's special. I mean, he really special. I mean, and everything you see on this film shows he's special.
yeah, and we know with Ryan Day, he's not scared to take 2 quarterbacks. I mean, he's not scared to take one a month before signing day. He'll take a kid as a sophomore, and then a month before signing day, he'll say, "Oh, by the way, CJ Stroud's going to join your class, Jack Miller," or Quinn Ewers is going to show up during camp. I mean, there's just been instances where if Friday can improve that quarterback room, he ain't scared to do it, and he doesn't care whose feelings are hurt or whatever because he wants a first round top 5-ish quarterback. And if there's a guy out there that could be that guy, then he's going to figure out a way to get him into the room and let the best man win. So I think it's really exciting. Like I said, his film is phenomenal. Obviously, if he's the number 1 guy in 247's rankings, that carries a significant amount of weight. And again, Ryan Day being there, I don't think it was a coincidence that he signed his son up. He's a 2027 quarterback who I think is 9th grader or whatever. he's out there. He's the youngest kid out there, just so that Ryan can get.
It worked out good for everyone. Under Armour got Ryan Day there, which they love.
Oh
Ryan
yeah,
Day got to evaluate 200 great prospects in the Midwest, which he loves. His son gets to step out there and just see what it takes to be a big time player. So, and it's good for RJ to do this.
oh yeah.
Maslin last year at the Elite 11. It's good for him. Is he overmatched right now? Yeah, of course he is. Is he learning from this type of situation? Yeah. And then again, when people say, these camps aren't good for kids, why does Ryan Day and Tony Alford, why do they have their kids in this camp? They're not going to hurt their kids just to be able to go watch some football. They would never do that. So obviously they think this type of camp is valuable. They've got their sons in it. So, yeah, it's good.
I know that like with quarterbacks, like a big thing with Urban Meyer when he was coaching was that, you want to see these guys throw live. And I think it's invaluable, especially when it's in Columbus. You don't have to send Corey Dennis to Michigan in some basketball gym to see this kid throw live, or, go up to Finley, send Corey to Finley or go to Finley. Like when you get to see all these guys, and the best part is you get to see them side by side. Like you get to see Ryan Montgomery side by side with Bryce Underwood. So again, that is invaluable. Like I'm telling you, when you're trying to say, well, who's better? Well, gee, let's see him throw back to back, rep after rep. Like, let's see him compete against each other. Because I'm sure that, like, when you show up something like that and you're Ryan Montgomery and you're Bryce Underwood, like you want to be the top dog. And the only way you can do it is go out there and throw it. And again, a day like yesterday is invaluable because it was crap. It was rainy. It was ugly. It's not in a dome. Perfect. It was a crappy day. So you get to see who really wanted to be there, as you were talking about. Another name, obviously Ryan Montgomery, Tavion St. Clair, a couple other quarterbacks that you saw. What was your thoughts on Ryan Montgomery? Obviously, he's a guy that, a lot of people feel is a Buckeye lean. Obviously, Luke is a kid that I think is going to be a superstar left tackle. But what were your thoughts on Ryan yesterday?
Well, I've seen Ryan twice now live in the past 6 weeks, and impressed each time. He gets more consistent the more I see him, where the arm angle's the same every time, the delivery's the same every time. He's one of those 6'4", 6'5" dudes. And a lot of times with those guys, you've got arms, legs all over the place, hips opening up too soon, and he has really tightened up his stuff. And that's really what you look for in those taller QBs. There can be a lot of moving parts with those dudes, but he has tightened up his stuff. The delivery is so much better now, and the more tightened up he is, the more accurate you are. What a shot. When you do everything right, technically, things work better. No different than shooting a free throw, hitting a baseball. When you do everything right, things work better. He's got a great quarterback coach. The guy's name is Brad Mandler. Brad is out of Akron, does his quarterback U every Sunday. I mean, he gets big time dudes, and it's really helped Ryan. So the consistency is what you're looking for from Ryan Montgomery. I mean, he is an above average athlete. He's been a heck of a basketball player, which I love to see for those taller quarterbacks. So he can, is he Terrell Pryor? No. But he can get out of the way. He's not a statue. He's not Todd Beckman, not Joe Bauserman. He can get out of his own way, can get out of trouble. He can throw on the run too. So I like Ryan Montgomery a lot. There was another quarterback there in that class who's ranked lower. Tavion St. Clair was really good. Like, I watched this film and I thought there was a gap between, St. Clair and Montgomery, but man, I don't know. He threw it really well yesterday. And it looks like he's gotten a little taller, a little bigger. I really liked what he did yesterday. It'd be hard not to be wowed by Bryce Underwood, and then you're watching Ryan Montgomery. But don't forget about this Tavion St. Clair. The big offers aren't there yet. I would think they're coming. Again, these guys they're sitting in sophomore English class tomorrow. They got 2 more years of high school football to go. So these are just babies in terms of development. So, but those 3 really stood out. They were really good.
Yeah, with Brad Mandler, he's a guy that tutored Drew Aller. How does Ryan compare at this stage to where Drew Aller was at a similar age?
Drew was pretty special early on. I mean, I saw Drew as a sophomore, and my gosh, you just knew he was going to get better. I mean, I think Ryan, I think it's comparable, but, in the development of these kids, really what takes place your junior year, the summer of your junior year, and into that's when for those guys, the real development's going to start now. So the ceiling is so high. That's why those guys have offers from everyone, because they're already good, and the development is they're still works in progress. Bryce Underwood's not ready to step in tomorrow and take snaps at Bama. Okay, despite what people think. So yeah, I like Ryan Montgomery a lot. I mean, and it's just Bryce Underwood is in the picture, and Bryce Underwood is in the Ohio State picture, 100%. They're in that one. So it's going to be interesting. That's the series you want to watch over the next year. And Bryce Underwood could be a kid that doesn't decide until December, of his senior year. I don't know. I don't know what his plans are. But again, he's just a baby. They got 2 more years of high school to go. So to watch the visit pattern of Bryce Underwood this year will be interesting. Where does he go to camp this summer? And then what games does he go to next year? What campus is he on for games next year? That's going to be really fascinating to follow with him. So, let the 2025 quarterback derby begin. I mean, and it's already begun.
Oh, yeah. Do you think we have a committed quarterback by the spring game next year, a la Dylan Raylin, when he committed kind of silently at the spring game, gave it a couple months? Do you think that we have a guy in the boat by then?
Well, I think there's a difference between Underwood and Ryan Montgomery. Ryan Montgomery is not the top quarterback in America. Okay, so people are not, that you don't want to be left standing when all the chairs get filled. Okay, you don't want that. So I could see Ryan Montgomery being committed fairly soon, and I think it's a family. The father played D1 football. Older brother Luke went through the recruiting process, so they know the game, and they know well that their clock is probably ticking. They've got great offers, but when Georgia gets their quarterback and Ohio State gets their quarterback, Penn State gets their quarterback, Notre Dame gets their, all of a sudden the chairs are filling up.
Yeah.
And maybe you end up at a place that you never thought you were going to end up at. So I expect Ryan Montgomery to be committed fairly soon. I mean, maybe by the start of his junior year. It wouldn't shock me to see him go through this summer. And he's visited everywhere. He and his dad have been all over. I don't know what visits are left to take. I don't know what there's left to do for him. They've really accelerated his recruitment, through his sophomore year now. So I could see Ryan being committed by September 1 of this year. Wouldn't shock me at all.
Do you think that the reason why a quarterback would take more visits is due to the transfer portal now? Just because, there's a lot of movement in coaching. There's a lot of, if you're a quarterback and, see, they take CJ, you sign up and then they take, Bryce Underwood, and all of a sudden he shows up and beats you out. Like, you got to go do what's best for you. Like Jack Miller. I mean, Jack Miller was committed as a sophomore. CJ Stroud shows up senior year of high school, and then he beats him out, number 2 pick in the draft. And Jack Miller is kind of off into, to Florida. And then he sits behind AR-15. Like, he's 0 for 2. He's behind CJ Stroud, then AR-15 and went 4th overall. But do you think that's part of the reason why you go and visit all these schools, is just in case it doesn't work out, you've got a soft landing spot?
Yeah, I don't think that's the plan by Ryan Montgomery and his dad, Mike. I don't think that's their plan, but that is an added benefit.
Yeah.
Someday that you've made relationships. You do have relationships, and you've seen these schools. So, but I don't think that's really in their mind right now. I think they're trying to find the right fit for that kid. Where's he most comfortable? So we'll see. But I would expect Ryan to be committed by September 1. I really think he doesn't want to lose a chair.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I wasn't saying it about them. I was just saying it about quarterbacks in general, just because there's only one guy that takes the snap. It's not like if you're an offensive tackle and you get beat out and you can go play guard or center. Like, when you're a quarterback, like, there's one guy that gets to touch the ball. And if you get beat out by a guy, there's no shame in getting beat out by CJ Stroud to get second in the draft. But you gotta hopefully have somewhere soft to land. But I think it's just a different time and place. We're gonna go corners now. So you had Terrion Nichols, who's a guy you like, Aaron Scott, who's probably gotten more buzz than anybody just because of the Michigan heat wave that's going on up there. What were your thoughts on those two? Obviously, Bryce West did not participate. You did not get the Glenville bus down there, so you missed a couple of guys, Jamarian Witten, the tight end. Yeah. But what were your thoughts on the two corners? And obviously, with the way we recruit some of these national guys, like your boy Zabian and those guys, like I mean, do we where are we at with these two in your opinion?
Well, I think Terry Nichols is probably OSU worthy. I mean, I think they've taken guys in the past that aren't better than him.
Mm-hmm.
But if you look right now, oh my gosh, you got Bryce West, Aaron Scott, Miles Lockhart, Xavier Brown. Would I take, Terry on over any of those dudes? No, I'm not. Is he OSU material? He might be. So he could be a guy that goes to Kentucky and starts as a freshman and is a second round pick in 3 years. You know what I mean? It could happen. But I would not take him over the other four that I mentioned. I'm going to wait and see what those four do before I come. He's in the book, the plan B. That's the term. That's why they originated that. Is he on the board? Oh, yeah. Is he behind a bunch of dudes? Yes. Yes, he is. So, but I liked him. And then Aaron Scott. I like him. I've always had him ahead of Bryce West as a prospect. I love both. I'll take both right now. But I've always had Aaron a little bit ahead of Bryce, and now I think the services have finally moved Aaron ahead of Bryce. Now, Aaron wasn't perfect yesterday, and like when I talk about these guys, I mean, I almost feel like I'm the curmudgeonly old dude that is mean to everybody and he hates everyone. And that's not the case. But like I said, when I'm evaluating guys, it's with one thought in mind. Does that guy help beat Bama? Does he help you beat? I'm not interested in beating Indiana. Starter that helps you beat Indiana, and I'm not interested in that. Does he? Because I think that's what the fans want. I think the fans want national championship. So that's where I look at these guys. And Aaron got beat yesterday once or twice. He also locked down a million guys, but he wasn't perfect. It wasn't like watching Marshawn Lattimore at the Under Armour practices every day, locking down everybody. It wasn't that. But Aaron Scott's good. I'll take him right now. Tall, long kid, great hips, can really flip them. I'll tell you something that bothered me, and is Aaron Scott got beat deep one time on a straight go route. And that bothers me more than when somebody gets juked. You get juked because your technique was wrong. We can fix technique. Can't fix speed. I'd love to see Aaron's track time, and I don't remember who beat him. It wasn't Mylan Graham, who's going to run by everybody. So that kind of bothered me about Aaron too, but this is nitpicking, total nitpicking. I'll take him right now. He's going to be a better college player than Cam Brown, probably a better college player than Denzel Burke. Them guys have been starters for you. So I'll take Aaron Scott today and love to have him. But, he's a mid to high 4-star. He's not a 5-star. Okay, he's not Marshawn Lattimore yet. But I really liked him. And then, like you say, a lot of times when you get recruited by Ohio State, a lot of it is who are you competing against for that spot? You know what I mean? Terry Nichols, a couple of years ago, maybe he's their number one guy or their number two guy on the board. Now he's got to go against these guys that are amazing players. So that drops him down to maybe 5 or 6 on their board. A lot of it is when you graduate. Who are you going against? Oh. So Nichols is a really good player. I take him. If I had room, I would take him. If we're taking 6 corners, I'm taking him. If you're only taking 3 or 4, not him. He's 5 or 6. Yeah. But he's a heck of a player. But Aaron Scott is and you look at Aaron Scott being coached by, Tim Walton every day. Where does he take him? And Aaron has gotten great coaching from Mo Douglas. Mo was an NFL DB for 10 years. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I like Aaron Scott a lot.
I love that. Well, I'm gonna skip Chris Henry. We're gonna end with Chris Henry and on a high note. Gonna go to the O-line, which was kind of a mixed bag to say the least. We had the Armstrong twins. We had Mark Nave. We had the big kid Ben Roebuck, who's committed to Michigan. None of those guys won the Under Armour MVP, which kind of raised an eyebrow to me. Bank, you were there. Again, I know that these guys are projects. They got a lot of work to do. Yes. I frankly would be Somewhat upset if I was one of those guys and I didn't win the MVP when it's kind of written in soft pencil on the trophy before you even show up because you're an Ohio State commit. These Under Armour guys are dying to invite these guys, invite all the Ohio State guys to this game, and none of them got an invite. So, what'd you see? What'd you like? What didn't you like? What do these guys need to work on?
Well, Mark Nave first is out of shape and he's overweight. And that's not being mean or nasty. That's just there's film out there of him yesterday. I've got film of him yesterday. I didn't put any of the film up that I saw. He needs to get in shape first to really be able to evaluate him. He's carrying too much weight. But, I mean, he did move okay for someone that is out of shape and overweight, So he's almost really, you would almost give him an incomplete. Now, would I take an incomplete if I'm an Ohio State or a Michigan or an Alabama? I'm not. You have to lose weight and come to camp. You have to prove some things to me before I would accept a commitment from him. Now, and we try to imagine Mark Nave at 300 pounds, 305, whatever he should be, 295, might be a total different animal. But, I don't think Ohio State has to take kids that are, I don't know what the word is, that you have things you want to see.
Yeah.
You show me you've done those things, then I'll take your commitment.
Yeah.
So Mark, I think, has potential as a real physical road grader, which is fine, but he still has to pass block someone. He still has to be able to move his feet and pass block. And he's not in shape right now. So get him in shape. Let's take another look, The Twins are not identical players, and I try to never mention them as the Twins because I think it's wrong. You know what I mean? Devontae's an inside guy. He was actually better yesterday than I thought he would be. So I had him as a lower grade coming in than what he showed, and he has to be a little more physical than what he is on tape. He's going to play inside. Got to be a bad dude in there. So, I think he can be a really good player. The one thing in there that they have going for him, okay, if I'm an O-line coach, they're super smart, okay? Everything I've heard out of St. Ed's is they work their tails off. If you're really smart and you work your tail off and you've got it physically, which they do, they look great physically. Well, that's a lot to work with, okay? So maybe the game isn't quite where I think it needs to be. They haven't really played a lot of football. These aren't guys that started as freshmen like they would have at Master Perry. They would have started as freshmen. St. Ed's, you don't get on the field as a true freshman. You earn your time. So they're a little underexperienced guys. So Devontae is an inside guy. He was better than I thought yesterday. Deontay, I kind of expected a little more from as an outside guy. And again, he almost looks like a tight end. And I think he's carrying 280, 290. So the feet weren't really quick enough. He got beat. Didn't really use his hands well. And these are teachable things. Okay. So, again, super smart kid, looked great physically, great work ethic. I mean, that's pretty good, for an O-lineman. But, I don't know that I would take 3 in the same class that are works in progress. Now, everybody's a work in progress. I get that. But yet, I think there are better O-linemen in America than these 3. And I think at Ohio State, when you look at how they recruit wide receivers, they're going after Brandon Ennis, Carnell Tate, J.J. Smith. Well, these kids would not be the equivalent of those guys. When you look at the DBs, Bryce West, Aaron Scott, the Lockhart kid, Xavier Brown, I don't think these guys are the equivalent of them in the same position. And I think if you want to beat Bama and you want to beat Georgia, you want to win national titles, you want to be able to beat Michigan, not lose by 3 touchdowns, I think every position group has to be, I want to start out with the best I can get. Does that make sense?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. And then
these kids may end up all 3 of them may end up all Big Ten players. But I think you're starting back further than where you're starting with Ennis and Tate and J.J. Smith. And I'd want to start there with every position group on the field. You know what I mean? When you're looking at quarterbacks, you're looking at the Underwood kid. You know what I mean? Dylan Raiola, Quinn Ewers, CJ. You know what I mean? That's the best that you can get, the very best. But on O-line, why? You know, and I'm not. And again, I'm not saying I wouldn't take these kids. I'm not saying they can't play. There's so much to like about each one in their space. But I'm not going to sit here and say that these three guys are the best O-line recruits you could get in America.
Yeah, I mean, I think when you look at us against Georgia, we had Paris and Donnie Jackson and five-star. DeWan ended up being like a 5-star.
DeWan was a project, and he panned. And for everyone that says DeWan, hey, DeWan was a project. Yes, he was. But then I'm going to name, we can look at that room right now, and I'll name A, B, C, D, all projects. They going to play? No. Not for Ohio State. Play for Akron. So that's what I'm saying. And again, there's a lot to like about each one of those guys, but I wouldn't compare them to J.J. Smith or Mylan Graham. You know what I mean? So there's different levels. And I think I would want the best of the best of the best of the best in each position group I was bringing in.
I totally get that. And again, I think that,
that's the way Urban wanted it or tried to do it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Urban's going Nick Petit-Frere, taking Nick Petit-Frere from Bama. And, he was in fist fights. I mean, taking Von Bell from Bama. And, I mean, fist fight wars with Urban and Raekwon McMillan. Like, those guys were unheard of when we had Tress. And for the most part, like, we're not pulling those types of guys from Georgia, and the Bulldogs and Bama want them. So I get it. It's just going to be interesting to see what they do. Because honestly, if I'm running the show, I'm saying, guys, like, we want you guys to come to Ohio State camp and be a lot better when you guys come. Like, get in shape and you guys got to dominate for us. That's like something that, because they weren't. The thing about it is the defensive ends that they were going against. They weren't going against Jadeveon Clowney, and they weren't going against I looked at the DNs that they were going against, and those guys aren't playing. They're not playing at Georgia or Bama or Michigan or. I mean, Brian Robinson is a kid that is a great projection potentially, but I didn't see any reps against him. Like, I saw him going against like some kids that they're not going to see those guys in the Big Ten, or if they do, they're playing at Indiana.
No, Brian didn't go against Deontay, who's the tackle, or Ben Roebuck. He didn't go against either of them, and Brian is another. Brian is another case entirely of a kid that, he's not going to end up in Ohio State, I don't think. Things happen, but he's a kid that you just want him to be better than he is because he is a great kid. Mm-hmm. I mean, first in every drill. When the bags aren't aligned properly, he jumps out of line and straightens the bags up. He cheers every single kid on in his group. It's almost a little over the top almost, but you'll take that over the a-hole that is just a total jerk and a prima donna.
Last in line and disinterested.
He's awesome. And Brian, there's so much to like about him. And when they go through the cone drills, he looks like a deer jumping over a fence in the snow in the winter. It's so pretty. And then he goes one-on-one, and it's like he's being stopped by a tackle that should not be able to stay with him. And Brian is someone that I like him so much as a person, can't help but like him. I mean, great personality kid. And you want him to be better. And you put the film in, the film doesn't match up. And I watched him yesterday. He didn't dominate those D linemen or the O linemen like he should have. There were guys that he should have just torched, and he didn't. But again, he's almost like either of the Armstrongs in that great kid, great work ethic, unbelievable measurables for Brian Robinson. So do you take that kid knowing all those things and think we're going to get it out of him? He's probably going to end up at Pitt. He could end up at Michigan. And then if someone can just, get that light clicked on, and it's not effort, it's not intelligence. He's got all that. He tries. It's just, Why is it not working? I don't know. He should be the film should be better. It doesn't marry up to what like the camp, the combine, the measurable stuff is. I don't know why. I mean, but if I'm gonna take a chance, I'm gonna take a chance on that 3-point student who's a great kid, who wants to be great, who's willing to do whatever he has to do to be great. I'll take a chance on that guy over the prima donna guy that's got issues. I don't like issues.
Yeah, I just think there's some defensive ends that just don't have that natural like slipperiness. Like they like in terms of the pass rush, there's guys. Zach Harrison was a classic where it was like he was like a giant. It was like his entire pads were so like Velcro, and he'd run into the tackle, and it was like, and that's what it was. Like that's what some of these guys are. Like some guys that run 5 flat can get around tackles, and some guys that run 4.6 can't get around tackles, and it's flexibility, it's hands. It's just, I just call it like a slip, like Von Miller is like a little, yeah, he's a monster, he's a Hall of Famer, but like super slippery. Like, you know, the guys that can just get past linemen, their hands are great. They just don't stay blocked. I mean, Nick Bosa is probably the best one I've ever seen, but he's obviously a Hall of Fame level talent. But there's guys that aren't Nick Bosa level talents that can just get past linemen. And then there's some guys on the other end of the scale, like Zach Harrison, and it sounds like Brian's like that they're just like they're Velcroed to guys that shouldn't be able to block them. Guys stay blocked, you know?
Yeah. So, and then, like I said, I don't know if you're ready to wrap this up, but you got to touch on those 2 wide receivers.
Oh, I'm literally going right to Chris Henry Jr.'s film. So bank Chris Henry Jr., your number 1 draft pick from the Under Armour draft of yesterday. If you could take one guy on the field, why is it Chris Henry Jr.?
Well, he wasn't the best overall player there, but my gosh, you look at this kid. I mean, today he went to high school at Withrow and he sat in freshman science, freshman English. He shouldn't be able to do the things that he's able to do right now. He's a legit, 6'4.5", 6'5", legit. And he's a slimmer hipped kid. So I don't think he's going to end up 260 pounds and move to tight end. I don't see that at all. I just see a tall kid, lanky, all arms and legs that can run by people or go up and over people. He's one of those guys like Marvin Harrison too, that even when you have perfect coverage on him, his catch radius is half the field. He's so tall. He's going to jump. He's open. Even when he's covered, you just throw it to him. He'll come up with the ball. Don't worry about it. You don't even look to see if he's covered. So, and he's nowhere near to what he's going to be. He's a baby right now, still in diapers, freshman in high school. But my gosh, when I look at him down the road, I see what I saw in J.J. Smith when the SFE guys told me about their little baby bird that they had, a couple of years ago. That's this kid. I mean, the skill chart is A+. He's got to work. He's not there now. He's not ready to step in and start for Bama tomorrow, but he's going to be someday, and I mean, the relationship, he's been adopted by Pac-Man Jones. And when I first read that, I thought, man, I don't know if Pac-Man Jones can take care of himself, let alone take care of a high school kid. No, I saw the relationship yesterday. I spent a lot of time with Pac. He's good friends with Mike Grace, who coaches in Cincinnati. And I was so impressed with him and his relationship with Chris. Got on his butt when he needed to and patted him on the back when he needed to. But Chris is going to get every day, he's going to get coached by a guy that tried to stop the Chris Henrys all those years. And I kind of like that angle.
All right.
Where Chris Henry is going to get taught what that guy across from you is trying to accomplish. And this is how you beat that corner. So I like that. There's a great relationship between Pac-Man and Brian Hartline. And Pac is going to put Chris where he can be developed to play NFL football. And you better believe Pac-Man knows about Olave and Wilson and Ibuka and Marvin and JSN. He knows. He's sharp. So I think Ohio State will get him if everything remains the same. And then I mean, the ceiling for this kid, I don't think there is a ceiling. I mean, he's going to be faster than Marvin with probably that kind of body. And I don't know if he's JJ, because JJ's a hurdler. And to
Yeah.
be a hurdler, man, you got to have hips, you know? So JJ is a different animal entirely. But I think as a freshman, I don't think it's outrageous to talk about him in those terms. Now, it all boils down to hard work, you know, but I think if Pack is your dad, you're going to work, or you're going to quit football. You're going to quit football and play golf because you're going to work.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this kid was, the film, what we're watching here is amazing, but to actually see him in person,
It's different.
and you keep telling yourself, when you were a freshman in high school, how would you have done in the Under Armour All-American practice?
Oh God, I've been terrible. Terrible.
I mean, and he's beating people. He's beating guys. And he is a baby. He's nowhere near what he's going to be. And he's got things you can't coach. And you can't coach 6'5". You can't coach that. And his catch radius, you just got to throw it in the area to that dude. And he will come up with the ball. For a young kid, he's really got soft hands too. The ball just nestles in his hands, you know. Or when I used to go to these camps and watch Paris Campbell, and the ball would hit his hands and it made a sound, and it usually made two sounds: hit his hands and then it hit the ground usually. but this guy, the ball doesn't even make a sound. Like, it goes into his hands and his hands just accept it. Like, I don't know how to explain it. You have to see him.
Yeah.
I mean, I was blown away by this dude. Like, and Ryan Day and Tony Alford, they want to watch their kids for sure. They love their sons, but they had to watch this dude and thought, wow, we need this dude. And Hartline, like I say, he's already been to camp. I think he's been to camp twice. I think he came as a 7th grader, I think. So they know all about him. And I think Ohio State's going to get him. I really do. I love the relationship between Pack and Hartline and Ryan Day. They were talking yesterday. So everything is set. The table's set for that kid. But, does he believe the hype? Does he get in trouble? Does he not work because he's Chris Henry and everybody writes about him as the next thing? I don't know. But if he does what he's supposed to do and doesn't get hurt, he is going to be a star.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Milan, you didn't touch on Milan. And
Fast.
It's crazy. The speed is legit, and I went there to see Milan Graham, really to see if he was more Kojo Antwi and Caleb Brown and Burton. Was he more that? And those guys are really good players, okay? Just because you're transferring out of Ohio State as a wide receiver, it doesn't mean you can't play, okay? Ask Jamison Williams, I'll tell you, okay? So I really like those guys, but those guys probably aren't getting on the field. Well, 2 of them have left because of Tate, Ennis, the Rogerses, JJ coming. Milan fits with those guys. Now, he's a shorter guy, like a 6-foot tall guy, maybe 175 pounds. He has to get stronger, but he can freaking fly. And he really knows how to track a ball in the air. And you either have that or you don't. You can't coach that.
Nope.
There's no way. You either can play center field and you know where that ball's going to land and you just drift back and make the catch, or your eyes don't marry up to the ball coming down. He really tracks the ball well. Caught the ball well, and he's going to run by people. He's going to zip by people. I would think he has, I don't know if he's ranked a 5-star, and I don't know if he is. He probably should be if he's not. I saw everything I need to see out of Milan Graham, and I really was kind of wondering after seeing his film was last year, just kind of wondering, I really liked him for sure, but there's nothing like seeing him in person. There's a reason Ohio State has camps. And I liked everything I saw out of him yesterday. He's pretty special, He's the top of the chart guy. He's not a project. He's the best wide receiver in America, or one of them. He's not the best. He's close to the best. And JJ is probably the best. But that's who they're in at wide receiver. JJ, Milan, 5-star, best in America.
Yeah.
That's what I would want, and I would want every position to be recruited like that.
I totally agree. I think our lines have to both catch up to that level, man, because we need linemen on both sides. Because we're probably going to lose JT. We might lose Jack Sawyer. We need to get some ends in here that are the same caliber guys. So I agree with you. But appreciate you, Bank. On to wrap this thing. This is an awesome episode. Thank you again. Appreciate you, my man.
All right, anytime.
All right. Appreciate you. We are going to wrap this thing up. Thank you guys. Appreciate you guys for being on here. Me and Bill the Bank Greene running down the Under Armour camp. Fantastic overview. Again, great content. Again, we appreciate you guys as always. If you enjoy this content, please leave us a like, click subscribe, and click that little alert bell. Jam-packed episode today. Getting ready for the draft lottery in a minute. So hope you guys have a great rest of your night. If you guys enjoyed this, again, spread the good word. Click that like. That's huge for us. Shout out where you're from. Put that down in the comments. I love reading that. It's always huge. Again, love seeing you guys where you guys are watching from. Appreciate you guys' support as always. So thank you so much, Buckeye Nation. And thank you, Scoop family. I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thank you guys for tuning in. Go Bucks.